Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Dana with the Data. So, honey, we are back in Fulton County. Yes, Fulton County continued to be exposed. While everyone was focused on the 2024 elections, the 2020 elections, and now the 2026 midterm elections, there's a massive scandal unfolding in Georgia that nobody's talking about. Election officials just got caught on camera admitting to ballot stuffing. But here's the thing, this isn't new. This is an ongoing problem. Just recent, the Georgia state just called for a complete state takeover of Fulton County elections. And it gets worse. Fulton County is currently being fined $10,000 per day for refusing to follow a court order. This is the story of how one county became the epicenter of America's election integrity crisis. Let me show you what was captured on camera. This is Joel Caldwell, Director of Operations for the Coalition for the People's Agenda in Georgia. He's talking to someone he thinks he can trust. He's describing what happened at State Farm Arena during the 2020 election. According to Caldwell, election workers were told there was a water leak. Republicans left. Democrats stayed behind.
That was the big thing here, was the counting of the ballots at the dome. It was all counting the ballots, and they told them that it was a leak on the opposite side of the dome. Everybody needed to evacuate. So then when they all left, the Democrats went back in and started counting, and the Republicans went back to the headquarters. They didn't know.
You know that for a fact?
That's what happened. Yeah.
They made it seem like nothing had, like they legitimately had leak issues.
So they had said it was leak issues. So you see them on the video putting everything up, and they left. No, they did. They put someone put stuff up, and then you see them leave. Then they was out in the parking lot when I guess they told them they could come back in. Or they was out in the parking lot and they was gonna go back to headquarters. And so the Republicans left, the Republican watchers, they all left. And so after they left, the Democrats went back in there and started counting. So that's the videotape. You see them when they're walking back in, pulling the shit out from underneath the tables, and during that hour. And then the other part was that when they were counting, I think during that hour, that stretch of that, it was only like less than 100 votes was counted for Trump. And just statistically, you're downtown, there's going to be more than 100 votes for Trump. That's what happened in 2020, because that's when the ballots, and they started stuffing them ballots, and people stuffing them ballots, and they got videotape on it. But nobody talks about it, because that's why Trump been making that big deal about it, because you see it on videotape. It's like, we see the man pull up and put 100 ballots in his box. You can't do that shit. So Bruce is paying people to do just that, drop off ballots, go around, collect ballots, collect absentee ballots, drop them off.
How did that even work? So if you're paying someone, I'm not trying to do this, trust me, but if you're a group and you're paying someone to pick up the absentee ballots, do people take their absentee ballots to the orgs and then the orgs distribute the pay? That's confusing. It doesn't make sense.
No, it's like, let's say you're my canvasser, I tell you to go around and pick up these absentee ballots from this area. You go pick them all up and drop them off in the box. No different. I pay you every week like a canvasser. You just get paid like a canvasser. You're on the clock for however many hours, driving around, picking up absentee ballots and putting them in ballot boxes.
What information do you need to actually know that these are certain areas that have a lot of absentee ballots?
When that's the case, you would just have to you would either have to reach it, like some groups was reaching out to the folks beforehand, so they were passing them out to other people, and then coming back and getting them all. Going down to a senior house, give everybody a ballot, and come back and collect all their ballots and turn it in. And then you take the ballots ballots and then drop them off.
And then the groups would have whoever, the canvassers go and pick them up and then take them straight.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's the illegal part. So think about it like this: if you're going to steal an election, let's say Georgia, this is the perfect example. You're going to steal an election here. You're not going to go to the outside of the Democratic Party, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to go outside of Atlanta or outside the metro Atlanta and change the numbers in Republican counties, right? Because that should just be too obvious. Change the numbers in your home. You can fluctuate these numbers because it'll just look the same.
It makes more sense to do it in Atlanta.
It hides better. So like if somebody's coming behind you and saying, well, you've been stealing votes, the first place they're gonna look is in the outline counties where it's red. Don't change those numbers, right? Because then it'll flip that county that's always been red to blue.
Which will raise the flag.
Which will raise that flag.
Okay.
If you come here to the city where it's already 1.5 million voters, and then you just increase the numbers of your already places that you want. So you want to inflate the numbers that you already have versus trying to go to a red area and inflate those numbers, because that would just obviously look wild,
So you need to start planning 4 years in advance.
You're trying to steal an election. Yeah, because you got to get a lot.
Dude, it makes sense, because that's 2016.
You got to pay a lot. You got to pay a lot of people to get in the pockets. A lot of people, people that you got to get a position. You got to get, everybody got to get a piece somewhere. Everybody got to get paid. Canvassers, ballot counters, the people who run the drop boxes, the election officials. We got all of that on somebody's payroll. Or a kickback or something somewhere.
In the movie, they didn't. In the documentary, they never said what groups. They just said investigations was being launched into different non-days. So they never mentioned it.
They didn't name the orgs.
They didn't name the orgs, but they
This all this is
So
crazy.
I just always been waiting on that to drop, because I was like, well, yeah, they're gonna do an investigation, and they got the evidence, because they were showing that in the documentary, the closed caption TVs of people pulling up. Like, I told somebody when I got to the office, because one of the cars in the video I recognized, because they always at the building.
Who was it?
I don't know. I think it was a union member or something.
Probably.
But that was like when I first started. They just had one of them weird cars that
stood out.
That stood out. And I was like, I know who that. And I was like, yeah, that's rare.
That's when you was up there all the time, though, too.
Yeah, that's when I first started. So I don't know who car that really was. But
are they still up there?
after I told them, I never saw the car again.
Dude, that's so crazy. I'm telling you, this dude kind of looks like you. I was like, hold on. When I seen that, when they me that picture, I was like, that better not be him.
No, oh hell.
I was like,
no.
but no.
But yeah, I knew they were doing stuff like that though. Because that's how they did. That's how they got one of the mayors in. They were dropping ballots in the boxes and stuff. Normally, how they
Around here?
Yeah, in Metro Atlanta. For the mayor's race in Atlanta. So what they normally do is how they do it. When you're trying to steal a race, you're not trying to, like, if you got Republican districts and Democrat districts, you're trying to get the Democrat, right, elected. What they do is they don't go to the Republican. What's up, boss?
Well, they're going to do it again in 2024, though.
What? Get all that they not on ballot? Harvest them ballots and shit.
Yeah.
That's why the Republicans are always trying to fight about, that's the argument of the whole thing, is because Republicans, they're the ones who put out that kind of stuff. So they want to do like voter IDs and stuff. Democrats will, fight voter ID laws. So so it's that two-sided thing. That's what they fighting over. Republicans are trying to say like, hey, look, we got the proof of this. And the Democrats are like, well, we don't want voter ID laws, and we want to make it where you can just drop your ballot off. Online voting, different things that they try to come up with.
Dang.
So that's the two sides. The two.
Yeah, they go back and forth.
Yeah, so that's why it's always something about voter ID laws. And then the Politico just wrote an article about New Georgia Project. I'll let you read it. It's deep. It's when you see it, you'll be like, oh. I took a screenshot of it because I sent it to all the staff earlier this morning. But yeah, I read the article, but yeah, I know it's. I know it's. I know all of them. So when shit happen like that, I just be like, okay, and keep it pushing. When I saw that article, I was like, okay. Yep, about time, I figured that.
So I know it's hard to get fired from an actual nonprofit, though. Don't be firing nobody. Like, you gotta be doing something real strange to be fired.
Yeah, you gotta really be doing some wild shit.
Caldwell describes an entire system, NGOs paying canvassers to collect absentee ballots, drive around neighborhoods, and stuff ballot drop boxes. He even explains the strategy. Don't flip red counties blue, that's too obvious. Instead, inflate the numbers in counties that are already blue. This is the playbook. Now, while this secret recording was making waves online, something else was happening in the Georgia State Senate. Senator Dolezal stood up and exposed something shocking. By Fulton County's own rules, their election board is supposed to be balanced. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 1 appointed by the county chairman, giving Democrats a 3-2 advantage.
We've got more election shenanigans in Fulton County. It's a tired story, it's a tired tale, but this one is over the top even for Fulton County. You see, by their own rule, Fulton County is supposed to have a balanced election board. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 1 person appointed by the chairman of the county commissioners, which in this case would be a 3rd Democrat. So they've already got a structural advantage of a 3-2 partisan split. But Fulton County is violating their own rule in refusing to seat the Republican nominee. Now, they did this all the way back in May. So the GOP nominated a Republican, Jason Frazier is his name. Fulton County's refused to seat him. They were ordered by a court to follow their own rule back in June. They've since been held in contempt of court twice. In August, they were levied a $10,000 a day fine, and they still refused to seat the Republican member of the state election board. Now, Mr. President, yesterday the chairman of the Fulton County Board of Commissioners came to our ethics committee here and had the audacity to refer to the state election board as, quote, hyper-partisan. And meanwhile, the same gentleman is leading the charge to ensure that the Republican nominee does not get seated to the state election board. So I know that some of my colleagues like to, they feel bad, they think we're beating up on Fulton County, but goodness, can one of y'all call Fulton County and just tell them to follow the law? This is getting tired, and it seems like the only thing that will work, Mr. President, is for the state election board to come in and take over the Fulton County elections. Mr. President, it's time, it's past time, and it is always Fulton County.
Repeat that.
Is it not true that it is a partisan move that your Board of Commissioners does not want to sit a Republican on your election board?
That's not correct.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's not correct.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right.
But Fulton County has been refusing to seat the Republican nominee Jason Frazier since May of 2024. A court ordered them to follow their own rule in June. They ignored it. They were held in contempt of court twice. The court imposed $10,000 per day fine starting August 29, 2025. They're still ignoring it. But the problems in Georgia don't stop with Fulton County. In Ware County, a forensic examination of domino voting machines found something disturbing.
Well, the forensics examination of Dominion Voting Systems machine in Ware County, Georgia, reportedly finds votes for President Trump were switched to votes for Joe Biden. That's according to Georgia GOP Congressman Jody Hice, who expressed outrage over the matter on Twitter. One lawmaker familiar with the examination said after an equal number of Trump and Biden votes were forensically analyzed, the machines reportedly 87% for Trump, 113% for Biden, when it should be 100% for everyone, for both of them. This means the machine's tabulator gave Biden a 26% lead. ICE called on states officials to examine all Dominion voting machines for fraud. In the meantime, One America's Chanel Rion tracked down the source of this report to sort out fact from fiction. Take a look.
While social media and citizen journalists have democratized the landscape of news media, one downfall is when a story spreads in viral fashion. Key details can get distorted. That is exactly what happened in Georgia. A story spread claiming that in Ware County, Georgia, a forensics team proved a Dominion machine had flipped ballots from Trump to Biden in the thousands. OAN tracked down the source of this finding, a voter integrity group called Voter GA. Garland Favorito of Voter GA says, while votes were indeed flipped from Trump to Biden, key details of the story have been distorted.
First of all, I want to thank you, Chanel, and OAN for investigating this and finding out what is right and what's wrong. So I really, really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about that. So what's right is that 37 votes do appear to have been flipped by the Dominion Democracy Suite 5.5 in Ware County. We know that from the results that the elections division at the county gave us between the hand count audit and the original election results that were created by the Dominion machine. What's wrong, though, is that the speculation that someone had to get a machine and run all kinds of forensics on it to determine that never happened. That wasn't necessary. However, that should be done now that we know that the flipping of the votes did occur. We need to find out why.
Favorito says, while several possibilities exist, a prime suspect is malware designed to switch the votes. Voter GA confirmed with the Ware County election director, indeed, 37 votes had been electronically switched for unknown reasons, a mistake discovered during the hand recount. Oddly, the 37-vote mistake represented 0.26% of the county totals, exactly Biden's total statewide margin of 0.26%. Favorito has submitted a sworn affidavit with these findings.
There's a grave concern now that we've seen this type of what apparent is a flip in Georgia, and it does, as you said, it exactly aligns very, very well with the Michigan vote flip up there, and then that raises a lot of questions about Maricopa County in Arizona, which is also running these Dominion Democracy Suite 5.5 systems, and maybe some other counties around the battleground states as well. So it basically calls for really hand counts in all of these counties and all these states where these machines are being used.
To this point, Antrim County, Michigan merits a forensics investigation. 6,000 votes had been affected, digitally switching votes from Trump to Biden. Favorito says Antrim County's situation was portrayed as a configuration mismatch.
It certainly is possible, but the fact that you could make that kind of a claim and never do forensics to back it up is just unacceptable when you're considering that the entire presidential election may hang on a given voting system.
Favorito's affidavit and testimony were scrapped in the Georgia State House Thursday. Favorito says because he had damning testimony against Georgia's Secretary of State and how he conducted the hand recount.
When we did the full hand count, we were very excited about it because we knew that it would be able to determine whether the Dominion voting systems were counting correctly. What we did not know was that the Secretary was going to force the counties to put the results in his system and then tell the counties what their results are. And instead of the counties reporting in bottom up, the way all elections are reported from precinct to county to state. It didn't happen that way. And in addition to that, the data entry points at the counties were not monitored, so we had no idea what they were actually entering. I've never heard of top-down election reporting in the history of Georgia, the history of America, or even worldwide. Elections are always reported from the bottom up, precincts to counties to the state. It's a completely an abnormality of unprecedented nature.
Wait, how is this even possible? The machine should tabulate at 100% accuracy for both candidates. Instead, the domino tabulator gave Biden a 26% lead. Garland Ferrarito from Voter Georgia cracked down the source. He confirmed with Ware County Election Director that 37 votes have been electronically switched. Here's the kicker. That 0.2% margins? That's exactly Biden's statewide margin in Georgia. Ferrarito says the most likely culprit is malware designed to switch votes. So let's connect the dots. You have election officials on secret camera describing ballot harvesting operations. You have a county that's been held in contempt of court twice and is racking up $10,000 per day in fines and still refusing to seat a Republican on their election board. You have forensic evidence of vote switching and domino machines. And you have the Georgia State Senate calling for a complete takeover of Fulton County elections. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is documented on the record and happening right now. The question isn't whether there are problems with election integrity in Fulton County. The question is, what are we going to do about it? The mainstream media isn't covering this. It's up to us to get the word out. Drop a comment below with your thoughts, share this video, and stay tuned because this story is far from over. I'm tracking this closely, and I'll keep you updated as more information comes out. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.
Dana with the data. Dana with the data.